One of the key responsibilities of being a product manager is to have a really great pulse on what customers think of the product and know how they're actually using it. Remember, PM is the voice of the customer inside the business, so we want to make sure that we're representing our customers accurately when communicating and making decisions internally. Oftentimes, there might be a gap between what the company thinks of its product and how the customers actually use it. A great example of this is the company Slack. In its early days, Slack was originally a video game called Glitch. The game had a loyal but small following of 150,000 players, and it wasn't growing fast enough. Slack founder Stuart Butterfield recognized that the path ahead for Glitch wasn't going to be successful, and he knew the company needed to try something different. The key insight from Glitch came around how the players were interacting with each other. Glitch had built an internal messaging platform that customers really enjoyed using. The leadership team noticed the high amount of messages sent between the players and thought there was an opportunity to build a new instant messaging platform. By listening to customers and having a pulse on what they enjoyed, Glitch was able to pivot and become Slack, the multi-billion-dollar company millions use today for corporate internal communications. From the Slack story, you can see that listening to customers is just one way that product managers can understand how the product is being used. So now, let's dive into the 4 ways to gain product insights and how to leverage them in your product workflows. The most powerful way of collecting product insights is simply talking to customers. Yes, actually reaching out to your customers, scheduling a meeting with them, and talking about what they're trying to do and how they're using the product. Listening to customers firsthand is by far my favorite way of collecting insights because the quality of information you can capture is so high. For example, when I was working on a new product at Microsoft aimed at reducing quality issues, I sat with over 50 customers one-on-one and listened to their challenges. Then, after developing the first version of the product, I went back to the 10 people who had the most pain and got their feedback. And then after launching, I again talked with a cohort of people to see how they were using the product. This consistent engagement with customers ensured we built the product in the right way to solve our customers' problem. And we validated along the way that we were on the right path rather than investing in a direction that customers wouldn't appreciate. However, there is a downside to one-on-one interviews, and that's it doesn't scale well. Interviewing a customer takes between 15 and 30 minutes, depending on how deep you need to go. And based on the average work capacity, you can realistically interview a maximum of 25 customers per week. Now, this isn't a problem if your company doesn't have many customers, but when you have tens of thousands, like my experience at Microsoft, it's impossible to reach everyone. The second downside is consistency in the interview process. Conversations almost never follow the exact same path, so insights can be skewed when you interview many different people. So how do we mitigate these 2 issues? First, to mitigate not being able to talk with all of our customers, we need to ensure we choose a representative sample of our population. This means looking at the population as a whole and then sorting customers into meaningful cohorts. To demonstrate this, let's go back to our Slack example. Slack has many different customers, and there's many ways we could sort them: by total organization size, by age group, by frequency of use. I'm sure you can come up with many more. For our example, let's choose to sort by total organization size, meaning the size of the organization a customer belongs to. The next is figuring out what the cohort should be and where do we draw these boundaries. Since we don't have access to internal Slack data, we'll have to arbitrarily create this. But if you had access, you might make some histogram plots and compare and contrast them. For our example, let's draw 6 boundaries at less than 10, 11 to 50, 51 to 150, 151 to 500, and 500 plus total users in the organization. Next, we need to count the number of organizations that fit within these ranges, and again, we'll simulate the data. And finally, we need to ensure we talk to a number of customers proportional to their relative cohort sizes. In our case, let's say we want to target 20 total customer interviews. We should choose 4 from less than 10, 4 from 11 to 50, 8 from 51 to 150, 2 from 151 to 500, and 2 from 500 plus. This ensures that our interview ratios match our cohort ratios. And that's basically all there is to it. Of course, sometimes companies build features specifically for one type of customer, such as a large enterprise or customers that use the product in a more advanced way. In my opinion, the principle of diversity here still holds. You'll just adjust what factors you use to sort the population. Now, second, to mitigate inconsistency across interviews, we'll develop a core set of questions that we'll ask every interviewee and track their responses in a table. Let's go back to our example to see how this works. I've created a table to capture our responses from our interviewees and added some sample rows for simulated people we'd talked to. And then you can see in the table, I've created a column for the responses to each of the core questions. I also have a column for free-form notes based on where our interview goes. During the interview, I probably ask most of my core questions first, noting down interesting things to potentially go do deeper dives on. There's something important to this process. It ensures a good breadth of coverage while allowing flexibility for depth later on. For instance, if you only ask a customer about one specific experience, they could probably talk for the entire interview about it. But how would you truly know what's most important to them? Maybe it was just the first thing you asked. So by covering all core questions first and then diving deeper into the interesting notes, you'll have a greater chance of finding a great insight. Okay, so 2 final tips about interviewing customers. One is make sure to record your interviews whenever possible. You always want to ensure you can go back and verify notes, but even more importantly, you can use the video of the customer providing the feedback internally to help build your influence with leadership when pitching new investments. And second, make sure you ask at least one open-ended question in each interview. This provides flexibility to the customer to share what they're most concerned about. And a question I really like is, if I could wave a magic wand and solve any problem or make anything happen to make your job easier, what would you choose? I can't tell you how many amazing responses and insights I've gotten from customers because it really allows you to get inside their mind. So that's interviewing individual customers. Now let's talk about focus group interviews.